That means parking lots and all of this thing. And this may blow your mind, but we have already paid $200,000 for plans and buildings and tests and all these things over the last couple years. And but God has paid for it, and it's paid in cash, and praise the Lord. All right? Present building fund. We have, I didn't touch base with Fran, but somewhere around $375 or a little bit more $1,000. All right? What God has already done beyond the budget, it's just concerning this building and this land and just the things we have done here. He's already provided and paid in cash for things that total almost $1.5 million, 1.4 and change. And I didn't even work hard to come up with those numbers. There's a lot of other things. So you say, what can God do? Well, look what He's already done. Through you. Through you. Okay, this is stuff, guys, you got to understand, has nothing to do with lighting, has nothing to do with electricity, has nothing to do with paychecks, has nothing to do with missionaries. That's all our regular budget. This is all above and beyond in the last couple of years. All these things are paid for in cash, and that's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's kind of an amazing thing. It's a great thing. Our site engineer, Landmark Engineering, tells us we're approximately 7 months away from permit. That's give or take, half a year, with the way things go. No, if things go as planned, mid-January, we should have permit in hand. And things are flying now, let me just tell you. It's just this past week, we received the permit from the fire marshal. There are all these agencies, government agencies, that have to comment on our project, and things are flying. The comments are coming, one after another. It was a wonderful thing to open that envelope of the fire marshal and say, site or plan approved without comment. That was a great thing. As submitted, that's what it said, as submitted. Plan approved as submitted. That was a great, 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 great thing. So God has answered. You remember that the Lord has, please don't forget, the Lord has answered permit prayers. Some of the guys that have been praying on in the breakfast the monthly prayer breakfast really prayed because DelDOT they were just stopped. They wouldn't answer us for years. It was 5 years before or since we've had a substantial answer from them concerning our project at all. They wouldn't even answer it at all. And remember, when we put heavy prayer to that God broke that thing right open. And we got a comment, and they had taken away our entrance out here, and we went and prayed about it greatly and went and sat with these gurus of DelDOTism. And right on the spot, the guy leans forward and he says, well, that'll work for me. Now that is the Lord. That is the Lord changing things, and we praise Him for it. What has changed since our last family meeting? I want to bring you up to date on just 3 things. We've been through a lot of meetings. We've been through a whole lot of stuff with the building team and the finance portion of the building team and the deacons commenting in. But what has changed? I want to bring you up to speed on just a couple of things since our last family meeting. I would love to stand up here and to tell you that things have gotten cheaper, but that's of course not the case. Just inflation itself have driven things up. But there are 3 more substantial areas. Number 1, our site work estimates have increased $700,000. And I say that correctly, and I want to explain why. When somebody comes at the beginning and they give an estimate of how much it will cost you to develop your property, they haven't done any tests. They don't know what kind of dirt that you have. They don't know which way your water runs. They don't know anything. They're throwing such a ballpark figure. And when our estimators estimated, they thought that they were really high, and they estimated $550,000. And they thought that was a really, that they would be covered in that. When the true tests came through, and there were scores of tests taken on which way the water run, which way the grading would have to be, the landscaping, you remember the previous church took down trees that we have to replace and all of that, and the way that would lay all out. When it came back, that site work estimate had gone up $700,000, and so just the site work, not any bricks, not any building, just the site work to grade it the right way, to put in the landscaping, to run the stormwater management the right way, burying the pipes that are necessary, and the green technology that we have to do for Newcastle County, it comes to $1.3 million just in site work. Now that's a shocker. But it's what we need to do to develop the property. The second increase came in a situation. I use the word snafu up here, and I want to explain it very clearly so you'll get it. Our first drawing of our building was made in Utah, a company called Buildings God's Way. Some of you remember the name, Building God's Way. And we took that building, that site plan. We had bought a library plan, which means that that building appears in all parts of the country. They build it over and over and over, much like some of your houses that have built. They come from a plan. So they purchased the plan, and we went forward with the plan, and our builders, Nolan Associates, worked off the numbers that were written on the sides of the plan. That were in the book, and we always knew that we wanted an auditorium somewhere between 400 and 500 people. We've said that many, many times, and it's been public knowledge. It says on there that the building would seat 458 people in the plan, and everything was just great. Well, a couple months ago, I got a phone call from our builder, who is now taking slides and computers and analyzing our building and drawing in more detail. He says, "Pastor, I don't know how to tell you this, but this auditorium can only seat about 300 and some people." And I said, "That can't be true." I called back. It's right there. He says, "I know what it says, but we measured off chairs and aisles, and it's like 300, and it was the upper threes." And so we called to Utah, to Landmark Engineering, and they said, "I don't know what's wrong. We'll go back. We'll talk with the people that developed the plan." And, I'm just going to be very transparent as I can. The whole detail, it was based on an 18-inch wide chair. And we have a 21 to a 22-inch wide chair. Now, I assume that we could go to an 18-inch chair if you wanted to do that. Those are the chairs that don't have arms, that are stuck. They're smaller. I measured a folding chair in my office, and it was 19. Okay, these are 18-inch chairs. So basically, we had no choice but to go. We're obviously not going to build a building for 300 and some people that we would immediately outgrow it. And so we went back, and as you see up there, number 2, 15 feet was added to the length of the building, and across a pop-out of 88 feet. It doesn't go clear across. It's on the back side of the building. 15 feet was added to the auditorium in order to compensate for the number of chairs, and now just about 500 people will fit into that building. Well, 15 feet is $92,000. So there's an increase in our cost. The third increase is concerning something that we may actually be forgiven of and not have to pay. And that is our water service to this building comes in from the corner in a 1.5-inch pipe. In order to, I don't know why that's funny over there. They're all right, they're getting married, they're giddy. I don't know what the deal is. It comes into a 1.5-inch pipe into here to the bathrooms and everything, 1.5 inch. Well, our new building is sprinklered, and you have to have a 6-inch pipe of water in case we had a fire, that it can pump all that water into our sprinkling system. So that means that we need to bring the main line, a 6-inch line, from the other side of the road, Old Baltimore Pike, underneath the road. It's called jack and bore, underneath the road to run to our building. The cost of that is about $75,000 to do. We are going to try to appeal to United Water to be a good neighbor and to bring us our water. You can pray. That's a prayer request you can pray for. That is a $70,000 prayer request that you could easily pray for. But none of this could be discovered until the tests were done, until everything, the plans were drawn up. So that's where we are. There have been other minor costs of inflation, of filled-in details, etc. But just from these significant changes, we know that our project costs have increased since our last meeting, which was nearly a year ago, a full-blown meeting like this, but have increased about $1 million. Now that's an increase, all right? We just looked at God has no restraint, so remember the verses we just looked at. I would love to be able to throw out a price and a price tag for you. The problem is you can see that this is truly a growing problem. This is a thing a developing problem, or not problem, a developing price kind of thing. I was on a way to our meeting. I think I've already told this, but I was away to one of the meetings, and my son Andrew asked me why I was going to a building meeting, and I said, well, we're trying to determine costs. And he said something like, "You've been having meetings for 2 years and you don't know how much it's going to cost yet?" Okay, please understand it's not like going and picking out a car on a lot. All of the grading, all